Are you good?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
you good?
You good, bro?
You good, bro?
I'm good, bro. You good, bro?
You know what's not good?
The fact that we're recording. What's up, everybody?
So it's pretty good when you think about it.
I guess. I like recording. I like making the
Yeah,
podcast, actually, quite a bit. I love making the podcast, honestly.
I love talking about horror stuff, and that is topical. We were talking about 7 Days to Die.
We are talking about 7 Days to Die, but you had a thought. You had a thought.
Uh, about what?
I don't know. You were going to say something.
I think that was my thought.
Damn. Be out here with the spook magooks. Who said that originally? I always heard that as a soundbite.
I don't know. I don't read BuzzFeed.
Okay. 7 Days to Die.
Oh boy.
From the creators of 7 Days to Die. They bring you 7 Days to Die Alpha, the whatever version.
A game stuck perpetually in early access for the rest of its life.
Oh, the Fun Pimps. That's who made it.
Shit.
Initially released on macOS and Windows in 2013, it is now 9 years later and it is still stuck in alpha.
Oh my god. Okay.
However, we have
So
something nice to say.
we have some nice you have plenty nice to say. I have some nice things to say.
This is the second survival game I've got you to play where you were like, yeah, this is pretty good, and then you actually want to play it.
Well, I'm hitting kind of a point with 7 Days to Die that I hit with most survival games. The problem with most games for me is that even though it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Mhm.
I still enjoy the satisfaction of the destination, something that survival games just don't do.
I think that, yeah, I mean, that's definitely subjective because I feel like a lot of people gain a lot of enjoyment from something like 7 Days to Die, Scum, etc., from
There
the
are some
multiplayer
survival
aspect.
games that have there are some survival games that have genuine feelings of immersion and reward that go with it, but there are a lot that fall into that absolutely nothing category where they have no end game. There's no reason to anything you're doing. It's just survive for the sake of it for as long as you can. And
Can we
I can't
build to
handle
that?
that shit.
Can we build to that? Let's build
Yeah.
to that. Let's build to that. Let's try to focus on more of the introduction of what is 7 Days to Die.
It's Minecraft, but it's Castle Miner Z with prettier graphics.
That's oddly correct.
Yeah, it's actually what it's Castle Miner Z with prettier graphics and a lot more stuff to do and drivable vehicles.
Ultimately, would you say you had a lot of fun with it, or were you more of like a, eh,
I'd say I had as much fun with it as I'm going to have.
right? Yeah, that's about where
It's
I am.
good. It's good for what it is. I don't think I'll play more than like the 40 hours I've got in now. That's good enough for me.
For a zombie survival game, like this one has a lot of crafting, and obviously it has the gimmick of every seventh day you have your horde. At a certain point, it just becomes so easily stopped. Like you can just like what we did, we just made the fuck it bunker and hid in it or hid
It
in
was
it.
so
We fought in it.
ridiculously easy.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous. We barely fought. We stood there firing bullets into a crowd of zombies that never made it past the first barrier.
that's
And then
true.
at the very end, when they made it past the first barrier, there weren't enough to make it nearly up close to the second barrier. So like the whole thing kind of became super easy in the matter of a few minutes. It was super difficult at first, but then it dropped down to this super easy in a few minutes, and I started kind of caring a lot less.
What drove me nuts is that okay, so yeah, the game's procedural. We should make that clear. The maps are always procedural. That's super cool. The loot's procedural. The loot has a reset time window, things like that. All super cool, allowing you to get weapons, ammunition, etc. Some weapons are rarer than others, and that's all fine and dandy. But when the random loot drop for ammo is like 44 ammo in this particular argument is so abundantly common, but the 44 gun is so rare. There's just little things in like how the game was designed that I have issues with in those regards. But ultimately, once you have a couple turrets, you know what I mean? The game became so
It
obscenely
feels
easy.
it feels like a battle royale with no players.
Kinda, yeah, yeah. I the base building and stuff is super cool. Like I can definitely see how having like a server of 16 people and having like two waging factions 8v8 could be a lot of fun, but there's so much preliminary to enjoying something like 7 Days to Die. Just getting some of the people in the server to play with us was a pain in the ass.
The the game itself only offers like what you would expect from your typical survival game: crafting and disease management or status effect management and
He just walks
food.
away from the mic.
My flag fell.
Oh. Yeah, the game does. I mean, the amount of crafting is super cool. Like building your stone axe and then building up to way better equipment over time, and how some
But see,
resources are rarer than others is cool.
but see, I literally didn't even have to do that shit. I just walked into the world, found the nearest possible building, broke out a window, and found some shit. What's the point of the crafting system? Everything can be looted.
True. Definitely true.
Crafting for building, and that's effectively it.
Right. I'm sure other people have servers that are a lot more difficult and you have to build up a lot more. Obviously, we were just playing as a cooperative experience, trying to figure out if there was an end game so we can make this video. And what we found was, again, at a certain point, it's almost unplayable. Like there's
It
nothing to
literally
do.
just stops. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's absolutely nothing. There is no end game. It comes to a total freeze, and that's about where I am with it. It's a good game. It doesn't. It looks like it came from its time period. It plays pretty shitty.
Oh, you
The
think it plays
performance
shitty?
is not good.
Oh
The
yeah, the
yeah,
performance is bad.
performance is not good. No matter what hardware you have, the performance is just not good.
When I'm running a 12700K and a 3080 and I'm seeing 25 frames per second just because of a hexadecimal flow, not good.
Right. We were getting the exact same matching frame rate, so it wasn't even a hardware issue. It's literally a game issue.
There are a lot of positives to the game. Like I honestly do think that this is still a game for people who want to be introduced into like more simple survival
The
crafting.
weapon the weapon play is excellent.
Oh yeah, the
The
weapons feel good.
the stats and perks are excellent. How it handles the player is really good.
I like the
I like
mod
the
abilities too.
idea. Yeah, being able to modify weapons is huge. That adds a lot. But then that lot can get done in like such a short amount of time. Is it even there are mods for 7 days to die that
Yeah.
add a shit ton of shit.
Hmm.
And I'd like to check some of that stuff out, but the game in its vanilla form is pretty much just survive, shoot some zombies, loot some stuff, survive.
Well, that's like one of the core issues with a few of the games now that we've covered on Omnia Obscurium is the vanilla experience is limiting and it just
Right.
does better with mods. Skyrim was another example of this where vanilla Skyrim is not that fun.
Okay.
You mod the hell out of
Okay.
it, it's great.
Okay. I have to disagree because I think vanilla Skyrim does still have a lot to offer if you've never played Skyrim.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like my mom
Whereas
wants
like
to play
this
games. You know, my mom was like, "Oh, I want to play these new games." And I was like, "Oh, Skyrim's a great way to introduce yourself into like that fantasy RP kind of world." What's an easier fantasy game to just hop into?
Oblivion,
You
same
think I
same
don't think
game, different
Oblivion would be
skin.
easier than Skyrim cuz Skyrim you don't have weapon breaks and stuff like that.
Well,
Money is a lot easier to come by. Oblivion, it's a little
well,
bit
but
more involved.
also Oblivion, you can beat the game at level 1. You really don't have to think too hard about any of the extra game shit. The whole thing is really like beginner friendly. I was playing Oblivion when I was 6, just to put that into
Yeah,
perspective.
you got a point. You got a point. Well, Yeah, you have a point. I'll just leave it at you have a point. I don't think 7 Days to Die is exactly the most easily approached games, but it's definitely not something that you can just hand to anybody and they'll figure it out over time. It really just depends on how you set up the world and how you set up the difficulty.
Right.
Because at a certain point, the difficulty tapers off. And once you realize that the difficulty tapers off and the zombies are at their maximum power, like radioactive explosive zombies was like end game stuff. Once you figure that out, you're pretty much good.
If you're a survival game veteran, you probably already played this. But if you're a survival game veteran who hasn't played this for some inexplicable reason, it's not anything special. IMO.
I think it's special for what it did for the community in like a proof of concept of what's possible,
Right.
and that's about it. Be-
Is the amount of content in the game enough to justify the development time?
no, but I would say the same for Rust.
Right. All survival games. This is my problem. All survival games, they feel underdone, undervalued. It's like people start making a survival game and then just give up.
So okay, let me do a hypothetical. Let's say Resident Evil just out of the blue we're like, hey, we're making this survive Raccoon City game. It's a character that has nothing to do with the canon. You're just a person in Raccoon City and you have to survive, and there's an end game where you fight a boss in like an umbrella base or something, right?
This is an unfair and biased question on my part because I like Umbrella Corps. I just like Resident Evil.
So ultimately you think that would be a phenomenal game.
Yeah, that would be excellent.
See,
That would be
I
awesome.
agree with you. I agree with you. I think that would be awesome. I think I agree with you full-heartedly that an end game purpose to a survival game is necessary. Something like The Forest.
That was what made Minecraft so appealing.
Right. I was going to say The Forest because it's a little bit closer in relevance. But yeah, Minecraft has the Ender Dragon and it has all those different events that you need to pull off by playing well.
Even
And
something as dull as We Happy Few had a semi-satisfying ending.
satisfying.
I thought it was relatively satisfying.
Okay.
That's perspective, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like not everybody likes an ending like that. No spoilers. Just it's not for everybody if it is your thing. It was my thing. I didn't care for We Happy Few the game, but I liked We Happy Few the idea and the story. It was good.
I like the idea. Get behind that. I think 7 Days to Die could just simply do one more big update. Create a radiation zone, give us radiation suits we have to craft, make it really hard to craft those items. And
Not
then
even
just
just like one big update. Why not like finish the game, release a full product, and then never have to worry about it again
oh,
because the
that's what I'm
community will
saying.
obviously upkeep with it.
That's what I'm saying is the one big update is all is needed to put this into a finished state. I think there is enough there to call this game finished.
Stranded Deep
Hmm.
entices you to play it with the end game effectively being trophies of your accomplishments. And there's
Right.
not much more to it than that. But they at least hit their 1.0 and understand that since that is the end game and they have a finished product, it's a finished product.
So, how would you like to see 7 Days to Die go into its version one?
I want to see some kind of end game, final boss that some kind of final boss fight during some kind of raid that requires more than one person.
Okay, so like a server
Something
collaborative
difficult.
effort kind of thing.
Right, something difficult, something that encourages multiplayer, something that makes it hard for the solo player and gives them a level of difficulty that like you just wouldn't expect. Give me that fucking Elden Ring difficulty in my zombie survival game. Zombies being weak is the worst thing in the world because if they were so fucking weak and easy to take down, humanity wouldn't collapse in the first place.
True. There's so much I want to say that 7 Days to Die is worth playing as a community. I want to say if you have enough people around you to get a server going or something like that. It is worth it. Like it is certainly a game where a community could do something with it, but it's gonna need mods. It's gonna need
It is certainly a game.
What game?
7 days to die. Hello, everybody. Feeney's joining us apparently for the podcast.
Oh,
Say hi, Dan.
hi. I did not know this was a podcast. I apologize. I will leave.
No, you don't have to. You can join. Um, I think that 7 days to die would benefit greatly, like you said, from an end game where you need to be collaborative with a group of people. You need to build up your resources, and like I said, maybe utilizing the radiation zones, doing some kind of this is the hot spot, this is where all the zombies are entering
You
from,
need to
and
make it feel like all of that preparation and work that the player puts in to become badass isn't just put to waste when eventually everything stagnates.
yeah, when it's just
One
like infinite
final
resources, you can farm anything you need.
one final hurrah to give the player an okay, I feel like I accomplished something in all of this time spent.
I don't think a survival game like this needs the server to necessarily finish like oh, we beat this final boss and now
But
we're
it needs to be something that like can respawn and is replicatable and gives the player replayability.
even just scaling health. Like, oh,
Yeah.
these zombies were on day 135 and now we have to pump 2 mags into one zombie. Like, yeah, it's
Why
unrealistic,
does
but
why does the difficulty stop climbing at such a low day?
I don't know. I mean, day 30 for the way we were playing is, what is that, 60 hours? I think we had it set to 60 hours for 30 days.
Right.
Something like that. You
I
did
want to
40. So I only played 20 hours without you. And
I
all
want
I
to
was
see the
really
difficulty
doing,
scale. I want to see the difficulty scale upwards of 70, 100, maybe 700 days. Just let the difficulty progressively scale on an algorithm.
like, can it? Like, if let's say you're hosting a server, can it scale like that? You think that would cause issues?
Probably not if there are variables introduced that slow down the progression at some point to make it not impossible, you know?
Right. Or you have it like individually scale. Like,
Right. It'll take balancing for sure, but at the end of the day, putting it together and balancing it once or twice to make it perfect is better than leaving it blank and barren.
didn't Scum do that? Like, I was at such a high level at one point, it would take me forever to kill a zombie, and one of my teammates would walk up and just smack it with a club, and it would die instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, we were having that problem near the end game there when we stopped playing. A big part of why we stopped playing is because there wasn't a whole lot left to do.
We were the most powerful encampment. Our server
Right.
literally took over that entire server. Like our Discord, I'm sorry, I'll refer to it as Discord. Our Discord took over the entirety of that Scum server, and we became the most powerful encampment over the course of like 2 weeks. Nobody
Right.
was able to touch us.
That's the course of all survival games. They're fun until you realize you've done all of that for effectively nothing to happen. It's like the ending of Outlast or any game where the main character dies, right?
Except for Resident Evil 8.
Well, yeah, because that's meaningful. That has a purpose. It
Had
actually serves a purpose and isn't just dead protagonist for the sake of it.
symbolism. I want to recommend 7 Days to Die to people because I feel like as a survival game, there is enough there to not only have fun, but if you get in the right server and you RP and you, let's say you create hordes every single spawn or something like that, where the environment is actually treacherous and the loot is hard to come by or it's more difficult to craft, but then you get into like unrealistic expectations of crafting, which it already has, and that's frustrating in and of itself. Survival games have just always fall into this weird category for me where it's like every now and then I want to play them, and then I play them and I walk away with nothing.
That's why I don't like survival games. I like regular games with survival elements, like Fallout New Vegas and 4 on hardcore mode add food and water. And
Yeah.
that's a neat survival element to add to a game where you're already maintaining your health and have goals to accomplish, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on there, and it's just small survival elements in an already much bigger thing. But just making a game based around one mechanic, because let's face it, survival is not a genre, it's a mechanic, is a bad idea.
Yeah, just like how crafting is just a mechanic.
Hack and slash games are never just hack and slash games. Usually they are hack and slash platformers or hack and slash RPGs.
Or hack and slash souls like or etc.
Because one without the other isn't really a genre, it's just a mechanic.
It kind of gives me flashbacks to when I first played Grand Theft Auto RP. And one of the biggest problems I had was the role playing aspect was so limited because you're not constantly interacting with players. You have to seek out those interactions. But sometimes you just have something to do, a job that you need to do. You have to make money, or you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that just takes away from the entire point of the RP. I'm not enjoying having to be a cop and then have nobody go speeding by me because nobody drives on this road. I was just dictated to go here by a person above me who's in RP, and I lose that entire RP because of it. And that happens
Saints
a
Row
lot.
2. Saints Row 2, I mentioned this not that long ago, is a phenomenal game with a lot of shit going on, and then it totally rips you away by forcing you to do tedious side tasks in order to progress the story. Literally the same repetitive side tasks in different parts of the city. There's zero differentiation between the 4 or 5 that there are. It's so fucking mind-numbing, and it takes hours in comparison with the story, which only takes like 2 hours maybe when
Right.
you play through it.
I just had the exact same issue with the brand new Saints Row game that I played. It A lot of that game was just me not playing it live because there was nothing
So
there.
much side shit. It's all side shit to get to a
Hmm.
little bit of story. And that's a huge fucking problem, man. And in a game like 7 Days to Die, the entire game is side shit.
Yeah.
The entire game.
I
I could do without the game. You could slap different enemies, different skins on everything. It would be just the mechanics with different skins, the same fucking thing. If there's no purpose to it, it's meaningless.
it's a time waster. It's just a time sponge.
It's not memorable to look at.
No.
So
What are some good things though? Let's get into the good things. It's always sad to just talk about the negatives. What is there worthwhile about 7 Days to Die?
I enjoyed the finer things. Like treasure hunting was an interesting thing.
Mhm.
Having side quests is very neat, though they're not really all that good. Having them is neat regardless.
Trader
Uh,
Joe's, like getting those side missions to go clear a
right.
house and things like that. Yeah, that was cool. I didn't mind that.
Little little things like the vending machines out and about that you could interact and spend money on were super helpful more often than not. Like there were some things, small mechanics added to the overall survival system that kind of felt forgiving in such a way that it wasn't like handing me shit, but it was always an opportunity to like recover if I was down in the shits and only had one option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just had some money on you, or you had a wrench and you wanted to take apart some street
Right.
stuff to make some money real quick and run into the hospital and buy an
Go
antibiotic just so you didn't
go
die.
go punch a parking meter and get a couple of coin from that.
Right. I think the team over at Fun Pimps had a pretty clear objective of at least making the world fun to experience. And I mean, I won't deny the fact that like how every single house is its own little procedurally generated puzzle is pretty cool. Like there's always little goodies to find in the attic or the basement that are tucked away. And you got to go through the little traps and stuff
But
like that. That was cool.
change of environment gets repetitive over time. It's like playing a top-down shooter that doesn't change anything but the environment.
Yes.
Eventually, you realize you're literally just running forward in a top-down twin-stick shooter with your sticks pointed in two directions.
Hmm.
That was I couldn't play the Ascent for that very reason, you know?
I understand. I mean, not every game can be Hades.
Right.
Just the way it
I did
is.
like I did like a lot of the more complicated things about 7 Days to Die. Like, regardless of whether or not the crafting system was necessary to play the game, I liked how intricate it was. There was a crafting recipe for everything. You could find books that taught you crafting recipes and skill books that increased your loot and rewards and changed dynamic things about the game. There is a lot going on in game that adds to the survival mechanics, but that's just it, right? Is there more survival mechanics?
Yeah, they're just
They're
more.
good. Right, they're good. It's a good survival engine, but I wouldn't say it's a good game.
No, I don't think it's a great game. I mean, if you're looking for a survival game to play with your buddies, 7 Days to Die is definitely one of the
Fun,
better options.
yeah, fun time waster. It's good for like it, but that's like I said, it's Castle Miner Z with prettier graphics. It
And
is really what you can equate this to.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Copper Miner Z being remade, Copper Miner, Castle Miner Z. If it would be like a 2022 version, I could see something like 7 Days to Die meets Scum meets Minecraft being like this amalgamation survival with an end game concept being portrayed,
And,
and it would be very good.
and Castle Miner Z had so many interesting ideas. It had the aliens. The whole game was based on the distance that you walked and traveled. There was the whole underworld. It had a couple of different boss types, different modes. There was a lot of shit to. You know what? I would argue Castle Miner Z had more variety. In game mode and gameplay and purpose, Castle Miner Z had more variety.
I
But as
agree.
a survival game, 7 Days to Die was better. If you took the survival mechanics of the end game assets from Castle Miner Z and you put them together in this mishmash of game, you would end up with a pretty good survival game.
Yeah. Wh- uh, What kind of people do you think 7 Days to Die is meant for?
Minecraft fans.
Minecraft fans?
If you play Rust, Ark Survival Evolved, Minecraft, Subnautica, literally any pop culture survival game, 7 Days to Die is another one to fit in.
I see. I always look at these games more as those group YouTubers, the ones that just have like 6 people they play with all the time. That's all
Right.
they do. That's what that game is for. It's for the interaction amongst friends.
But they always right. Those YouTubers are always changing games and shit. You know, you see them go from Raft to the Forest to like
Mhm.
Among Us to Fall Guys and shit, and that shit carries over.
Yeah, like Fall Guys is one of those games where if you play it by yourself, it's kind of sad that you're playing Fall Guys by yourself. But if you're with 6, 7
It's
people and you're
still
at
kind of sad that you're playing Fall Guys, but at least you have friends.
it's with
Mm.
friends and it's fun and it's
Yeah.
it's a little bit more because you
Well,
have a little bit more competitive.
let's not stretch the truth by going as far as saying it's fun. Come on.
I
It's
don't
walking
personally
a
enjoy
line
it.
and
You don't
fall
personally
down.
enjoy it, but people do enjoy it. Let's not disregard that.
Totally accurate falling down simulator.
I would probably faster pick up another survival game than hop into something like Tarkov again, just because toxic communities do be toxic. And every time we play Scum or we play 7 Days to Die or we get into a server, we always end up meeting people and we have fun interactions with people, which is always super cool. So if you're
But
looking for like
problem with
social,
the problem with 7 Days to Die is it is not social at all. Like, you can play privately with friends and stuff, and there are some open servers out there, but the majority of 7 Days to Die is private.
Mhm.
It's not an open server, socially hosted game on large servers. It's not like Arma, where you have a bunch of people thrown, or Daisy, where you have a bunch of people thrown together and everybody's fighting for survival in the same world space. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of like PvP nonsense where people are just getting into small servers and shooting at each other the entire time,
Right.
which was pretty frustrating, which is ultimately why I decided we were just going to play a cooperative experience because I could not find a server that was not privated, not dedicated to PvP only, or had absolutely nobody in it. Those were like my 3 options. And the ones that were like extremely massive and would have 32 players in it, nobody was near each other. They were all in separate corners of the map. and they were playing by themselves or with one or two friends, not accepting to any RP, not accepting to any conversation, help.
And I hate to be that guy, but 7 Days to Die devs, did you know Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 has a custom server browser that still fucking works?
And has
It's
tons of
not
mod
that
support.
complicated. You code a new menu, allow for some bigger players, and then let them pay you to host some server space. You make money, it's a win-win. Players come in and get to do bigger stuff. And instead of feeling like you've wasted your time on a side project, you actually get some fulfillment as the dev team out of selling this thing and other services for this thing that could potentially be much bigger. You're not hurting anybody by doing that. You're providing a larger space for the community to operate. You know,
I don't know if the engine can support it.
I think the engine can support it. I think it just needs work. That's it. I think they need more people to work on it. I think it needs work.
I would almost say start from scratch with a new engine.
Take what you have and build a new rendering engine over it. Don't change the gameplay or the physics engine or things that work already. Just build a new rendering engine over it. Change it to DirectX 12 or something.
I mean,
Update the models and meshes and textures and maps and
we would only play
like
like 3 hours.
optimize the memory a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say you and I would only play like 3 hours together, and by the end of it, I'm running at a snail's pace, just trying to put things into the furnace so we can
Right.
have metal in the morning. And oh
Thankfully it doesn't leak, but like that's not good memory management on the game's part.
no, retention in memory needs to be compressed, definitely,
This one
especially
hurts.
like in your chests and stuff.
This one hurts because there's so much potential here.
Yeah.
I was a young lad when this game dropped. I was still a kid. Now that I'm an adult and I take a kind of more objective look at things, there's so much potential here for like a great passion project or a great business, regardless of whichever you're trying to attain. And it's just going ignored.
That I think that's the biggest problem too, is like we ultimately you put 40 hours in, I think I put 80 hours in because I did like 20 hours of off research and I had played before.
Right.
And like even now I'm like I want to go back and I want to drive around and I want to figure out like is there more to do? But
Right.
I went to the military base. I cleared it out with just my shotgun and
You
no
you saw
armor.
all the shit that's supposedly endgame apparently already.
Yeah.
That really kind of once you know what it is and you've seen it and it's underwhelming, it's a wasted potential, man. That's how I feel. This is a waste of potential.
And it was I
It,
it's so
it's
easy to
going unloved.
cheese. You just
Yeah,
ignore the exploding zombie until you have a group of zombies behind you. You turn around, you shoot the exploding zombie, they all die, you win. That was the end
yeah.
of like the highest difficulty. It's just cheese it.
We hit a point where we were surviving on nights in that bunker thing that you built off to the side, and what effectively happened is zombies would pile up at the wall right underneath us. We'd shoot bullets until we ran out of bullets. They finally broke through the wall when there were none left. They'd hit one turret, never make it to the line of turrets that were set up on the way to the bunker, and it was over.
Yep.
We did zero work. It was just over. That was the second seventh day. Like, what was the point of the difficulty increase at all? It might as well have just been a difficulty decrease. We smacked everything. I don't know if we were over prepared or any something, but it was way too easy to get to that point.
Well, we also I approach everything with more nuance. So I wanted to be over prepared rather than under prepared. So of course I'm going to go out of my way and figure out the most
I was letting the
efficient
game
way.
I was letting the game guide me, and unfortunately, the game guides you in what is effectively the most efficient way.
Right.
Grab some shit, build some shit, wait it out, and use what you have to make sure that you survive those long nights. Because, like, that's it. That's ultimately the only thing, the only goal in game that is actually a goal worth accomplishing is surviving one of those nights. And it's not even worth accomplishing, really, because all you have to do is hide in a hole with some turrets.
Pretty much. Pretty much. The
So
7 days
much
to die.
potential.
Yeah, it's just a lost potentials title. And there are other survival games that we'll eventually get to, like Survive the Night and stuff like that, that claim to be doing so much better. But when I load up Survive the Night, I can't even get into a server or even host my own game. There are other nuanced issues that I need to resolve first. I'm happy that 7 Days to Die works and it's functioning. I think it is all right to play with your friends.
I'm glad I spent the short amount of time I spent playing it and didn't overextend that.
Oh yeah, because you would hate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I would hate it.
you would have walked away hating it. And
Like SpongeBob post season 4, I would have hated it.
I think that's also very important for us to clarify is like we don't hate 7 Days to Die. We want to see it excel. We want to
Right,
see an
there's a
end
lot
game.
there. There's so much potential. It just needs to finish. It just needs something worth actually playing it for, and not just an empty experience.
And sandboxes. I love sandbox titles. I've said this 1,000 times before. GTA 5, GTA 3, GTA 4, Saints Row. They're all fun because they're sandboxy. 7 Days to Die could benefit a lot from it having sandbox elements and where you're less concerned about the environment. You're just doing crazy shit for the sake of crazy shit. Adding a
I feel like
gyrocopter was a good idea because it was funny.
having raider NPCs that fucking shoot back at you would be an enormous thing. You
Off
know,
scum.
something to add a little bit more excitement to the game.
Cough scum releasing a
Yeah.
Raiders update that had no Raiders. Cough.
Yeah, that wasn't not a great idea.
Not good. I went back and I loaded it up and I was running around and I was like, where are the NPCs? Like, what the hell? That's what I wanted. I wanted raider bases that I had to like fight people and actually,
It was just a bitter disappointment in the
it
end.
is. It is. It's a tough.
Raider NPC would be a huge benefit. Some more actual shit to do. There's so much.
It's a tough pill to swallow, especially when I recommend PCs to people and I start getting into projects where I get to build people PCs and they're excited to play Rust or they're excited to play 7 Days to Die, and I have to like quell that because I'm like, it's not everything it's chalked up to be. A lot of these YouTubers are editing these videos in a way that makes it more enticing because they're producing something that you want to watch, and you don't understand that their reactions and the things that they are doing is set up and it's staged and they're doing things on purpose because the games aren't what you think they are until you play it.
Right. Nobody who watches Dream SMP who should be watching it with the mindset that like this shit is all real 100% of the time, because it's not.
Mm-mm.
They're like content creators stage things for entertainment. Who knew?
Who's surprise.
At least when you come to my channel at 500 subscribers, you get it raw. I just fucking tell you how it is. If I hate something, I'll make a joke about it, but like
I mean,
setting up an act to talk about something or to play something, that's not me. My genuine reaction to a good many games has been, well, that was fucking disappointing.
I feel like both of us have a different approach to our YouTube persona or however you want to perceive it, because we're just
Um,
us
yeah.
at the end of the day. Like if you come to my live stream and then you join the Discord and you talk to me, it's the exact same experience. My statements here will be reflected in my 2 YouTube videos I did on 7 Days to Die, which are unlisted in a playlist and the only way to watch it. Because guess what? I'm not dancing around the reality. I'm not putting on a show right now. These are just content that I'm making. If I was putting on a show, I would put on a show. I would
Right.
actually do scripted content and I would create scenarios and record scenarios a specific way. But I'm not doing that right now. I'm not doing the Markiplier. I'm not doing the Jacksepticeye. I'm just being me.
And even in the case of them, that usually is just them being them. Markiplier started, I think it was Markiplier, or no, PewDiePie started playing games on YouTube because he was initially just too scared to play some games by himself. He thought recording it would make himself feel better.
Right.
Sometimes you put on an act for yourself to make yourself feel better. And it's not
Absolutely.
it. It's just in a matter of them in the moment, the games that you watch played in content are not nearly the same as actually playing them
Mhm.
in your hands with your physical self making decisions.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. But you can't discredit the fact that showmanship and things like that are real. That's a thing. Surprise. You know, when you play GTRP or you watch your favorite streamer play Grand Theft Auto role playing, a lot of that is pre-staged behind the scenes. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go here, you're gonna meet me here, and then we're gonna just let it go from there, improvisation, and then you're gonna leave, and then I'm gonna improvise with this person,
Because
do
they're
a
filming
thing.
reality shows effectively. Like
Yes.
it's the reality show logic.
Yes, it is. Just get the visceral. Get the visceral. Always get the visceral.
You want what's the most eye catching and attention grabbing at the time.
And that's what 7 Days to Die is very good at. It gives you a good environment for the creation of a show like that. Like if you want to make an RP show with 8 people, 7 Days to Die is a great place to do it. You can invite new people, prepare them with all this equipment, stage a base, blah blah blah, act like they were always in the server when they weren't. It gives you an opportunity to create content through the game.
Right.
Uh,
Old machinima content drives to mind because those were fully acted skits and things like that. There's a real difference, but also, is there a real difference? It's just POV machinima with a lot more real time acting.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's pretty much the same. And I don't want to. Obviously, we're not discrediting the creation of that content. It's good content. We
No, it's
watch
good.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, the effort that goes into making it usually is pretty good.
right. There's a bunch of people who use Minecraft. What is it? Set dressing. That's the word. It's set dressing for something else. They
It's
give
set dressing to socially engineer an audience into
right
loving you eternally and
session.
giving you ooh-woos.
You have multiple aspects of what you can do with the game, like session. Yeah.
Stop social engineering ooh-woos out of your audience.
No, don't stop doing that. Make the content you want. But it.
I like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking frogs gay.
You and I and several other people can get a lobby going of session, right? And we could
Right.
role play as skaters because we are skaters, and we could stand around and have a community watch, and we can role play with the community and each other. And
And the shit that the viewer sees would probably be like a few seconds of what takes probably a couple hundred attempts.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I was getting to is you would have those scene transitions, you would have those hard cuts, and you would have the dialogue that is nitpicked to create a narrative, and we would define the narrative during the recording so that way we had cuts to jump to as you do a trick and fall and you're like, oh, I
In the
got
great
hurt.
space in the great space of multimedia, you can generalize it as composition.
Yes. And I don't think 7 Days to Die ever deviated from being a composition point or a set dressing. I think it was always a set dressing and always a composition point because they knew that YouTubers were playing it, creating content through it, and that was their hard focus.
Right.
That's how it feels.
That's how it's always going to be ultimately. It's games like that are made for groups of people to create content,
Hmm.
quite literally.
But there's so much opportunity for a good
I
general
feel the need
survival game.
I feel the need to reiterate because I got asked this question on Quora the other day and it just bothered me. That doesn't mean the developer doesn't care about the game either. Just because they make a game for a purpose doesn't mean they care about that game. Like you can be just as passionate about making money from a game without being passionate about making the game itself as you are about making the game. And both forms of passion are equally viable. As much as I hate to say it.
No, you're right. I don't think you should hate to say it. I think that's just honesty.
It is. Not everybody is the biggest fan of developers who are only in it for the money, but it is their right to be only in it for the money if that is what they're passionate. If they're passionate about the business of it, then let them be passionate about the business of it if it doesn't hurt anybody.
If the product is worth playing, why not?
Even if the product isn't worth playing, like you get bad devs that develop $1 shovelware games entirely for the profit, knowing they'll only sell a few, right? But those few bucks are probably just to like pay their rent.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not everybody can work for EA. Not everybody can work for
Not every
Activision or
not
Ubisoft.
everybody can even not everybody can work for themselves most of the time. Like that's why a lot of shovelware developers do what they learn the quickest, most efficient routes to create things that can get shoveled out in a day or two, so they can sell things for like $1 or two.
Right.
Sell a couple hundred copies of a $1 game, that's a couple $100.
I mean, all you have to do is go to Itch or go to Game Jolt, and there's a lot of just clickbait $1 games, and
Right.
they don't care. They just want $1.
A great example is adult games, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. There are shit tons of them. They are literally made to make money. That is what they do. Some of them are made for other things, passion of other things, and that is a whole different. But most of them are made out of the passion for money, and sex sells.
Yep. Dex definitely sells. I know I'm not gonna say their names or advertise their product, but I know budding game developers who have used fake names to produce several porn games because they had to pay their rent and pay their mortgage or
I
whatever.
I'm an artist who hangs around in many an artist space, and it carries over everywhere. Everywhere. It sells. It's a good way to make money. Sometimes that's just how it is, and that's
Hmm.
fine. And
I've
that's it's a good thing that those opportunities exist in the first place.
I've said this 1,000 times. If I really wanted to, I could play a game live and then make my thumbnails, whatever a female character, find the skimpiest PNG I can, slap it over a wallpaper, and I'd get thousands of views. We know this is true. We've seen this before. We know other YouTubers who have done it. I just don't want to.
Right. Right. That's not my shtick, baby. The passion's somewhere else. But for some people, the passion is there.
Hmm.
For the 7 days to die devs, I feel like it started passionately and then it didn't. It died. They lost at some point. They lost the plot.
They wanted to create a set dressing for content creators, and that was their hard focus.
Yeah. And they did. They did exactly that.
Hmm. Turn
Mission
on
achieved,
creative
guys. You
mode,
did
throw
it.
some shit in the chest, act like you never created a new server. Now you have all a new environment.
You did it. You fucking nailed it. You made a content creatable game.
Hmm. Which is in and of itself is extremely cool. That fact that that exists, but
Especially if that's what you were aiming for. Like if that is what you were aiming for and it became what it is, you really it's a good show of like understanding your market, understanding the market that you're making your game for.
right, I agree. It's not something like I'm playing Steel Rising currently. Steel Rising was amped up to be this French Revolution Bloodborne style S game. And if you watch my first episode, the first thing I notice is there's no invincibility frames when dodging. You just get hit regardless.
Right.
And I was like, oh, they completely failed at making a Souls game, right? So I was like, oh, do I delete this video? But then I went to the main screen, and you know what they had as an option? Accessibility options. Now, accessibility options can go one of two ways. They're either memes, Saints Row 2022, or they're genuinely helpful for making the game playable. And that's what Steel Rising did. So I went from this not very good Souls wannabe game into a relatively decent hack and slash game just by changing a few parameters. I appreciate shit like that.
Yeah. I appreciate shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to finish our discussion of 7 Days to Die with a quote from Neon Booty Goon in the Steam reviews.
Okay.
This is the epitome of what could have been in gaming.
Facts. Hard facts.
Yep. That says everything.
And it's so true in so many ways. I pick up so many survival games with the hopes that it's going to be fun. Green Hell, I mean, it is what it is. It's a survival game. But nothing will ever really reach the fun I had with a game like The Forest, because it was a survival game. It was really fucking creepy, and it had a start and an end.
Fuck all that, bro. We playing Castle Miner Z out here. You get your friends and your laser guns. We're going all the way to the 10-kilometer mark, boys. We out here.
Yeah, I would rather play Castle Miner Z. Like, Minecraft is another one where I didn't really care for Minecraft for a long time. And then the update came out with the Ender Dragon, and I was like, oh, cool. An
And
objective. And I was like, okay, now I have something to do that isn't just build a castle.
there was a time in Minecraft Alpha when coal was useless.
That's a hard fact right there. Whew, that's going way back. Making coal blocks because they're black because you wanted a black floor.
Yeah.
Remember that? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Using different colored blocks for all kinds of shit because the colored wool blocks just didn't exist until like Microsoft bought Minecraft.
I completely forgot about that. 7 Days to Die, man. You wanna say anything else?
If it's your kind of game, play it. It definitely fits that thing. You've probably already played it. Game's 10 years old. How could you fucking not have? I hadn't, believe it or not. This was a new experience to me going into it. I had played little bits of it long, long time ago, but like genuinely playing the game and getting to understand it, this is a first for me. If it's your thing, I recommend it. If it's not your thing, like it's not my thing, just go play something better, really. Go play literally anything better, not a survival game. Go play Resident Evil. I hear Resident Evil 4 is looking nice this time of year. It's always available, it's always right there. It's a better game. Came out like a decade before this one even. It's pretty good.
It's a good game. Resident Evil 4 is a very solid game. Check
Yeah,
out
it
my
has
VR
nothing to do with
playthrough.
anything.
VR playthrough was really good. Check it out.
Yeah, go do that and hit the bell and the subscribe.
Yeah.
And when you hit the bell, as a personal favor to me, instead of just hitting the bell and walking away, click the bell and then click the little thing that says all notifications. Because when YouTube personalizes things, we get lost in the flow.
We sure do. My final thoughts. Um, Recognize that a lot of survival games are not what they're advertised to be. I'm not saying they're falsely advertising anything, but you need to understand that these are sometimes social games. Do your research first. Make sure the servers even have a consistent player count. If you're going to play a survival game, get some friends involved. Understand that most of them, if not almost all of them, have no end game. So they're fun for the time being, but the fun factor wanes once you're pretty much at end game.
Yeah.
Things typically don't get harder. The Forest did a good job with this where the game gets really crazy hard, but there's no turrets or nothing like that. It's all defensible, it's all traps, it's all more logically created for the situation that you're in. Play The Forest. It's very good, especially if you like horror. But if you're looking to do something content creator wise, you want to deviate from, Minecraft or something like that, play Castle Miner Z, play 7 Days to Die, Scum. These are all games that you can get a good amount of people
Play
in and
Castle
have
Miner
fun.
Z.
Red will always push Castle Miner Z.
Honestly, they got such a great community. It's one of the best community upheld games in a long time. Tom, where are you? We need more Castle Miners. He come back and develop more game, please.
And Castle Miner Z's got a ton of content.
Yeah,
Like, if we were to even begin to do a playthrough of Castle Miner Z, it would probably take us like 100 episodes.
there's so much just walking to the end of the world, understanding how the underground stuff works, fighting, actually activating the bosses to have make that happen. surviving the dragon is always a pain in the ass. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to survive in Castle Minor Z just for the first couple of days.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you're playing 7 Days to Die, the only hard day is the 7th day. Everything after that, easy peasy.
And hell, you could probably be pretty prepared for that. Pretty easy peasy, not gonna lie.
Yeah, you could literally just make what we made, and
Like I was dumb. I ran out into the zombies and tried training and I died because it's not Call of Duty.
I I like the Grim Reaper aspect. When you die, your experience gets negated and you have to earn it back. That is pretty cool. There are so many cool concepts here that I do appreciate, but there's also so much I'm like, ugh, ugh.
It's a
There's
skeleton.
nothing to do. Give me
It's a
something to do.
skeleton. It's a skeleton of a zombie game.
Just give the players something to do. Give me goals that are outside of just mundane side tasks.
Give me subscribes.
I got to level 100. 100. I had 3 things I had to do. Raid an army base, survive day 30, and I had to reach level 100.
And
I did
that's it. That's
that's
the end
it.
of the
That's
game.
all I wanted to do. And I was like, "Oh, maybe there'll be something else." No, we found like one research lab and it was easy peasy to get in and leave. You did it, I did it. We couldn't find another one. Turns out there's only one. Ugh. Missed opportunities.
There was zero unique loot. There was nothing that stood out as an item that was extremely rare to get.
Right, like a special weapon or something would have been nice. The fact that they give you dyes, but not every item can be dyed. Dumb. Dumb little things that are just like, ugh.
Why can
Ugh.
you dye the Jeep, but you can't dye your goggles or your aviators? You can dye them now, or you can dye some of them, but like there's a lot of facial things that you can't dye in game.
Like some of the mods that you put on the weapons actually change how the weapon looks, but not all of them, only a couple of them.
Right. Why
Dumb.
doesn't the drum magazine change how assault rifles look? That would have been so cool. I found it and was super hyped because everything else changed the look, but not that.
I will say the model designs are really impressive. Some of the textures are not good.
It's old.
Yeah, it's old. And
You
you
need
could
to thicken them normal maps, boys.
I think a 7 Days to Die 2 with a solid end game, more procedural generation in terms of not repeating the same thing over and over again, like the same puzzle concepts over and over again. There's so much there. Have us raid a lab that like had the outbreak start, and you have to like collect different notes from around the map that piece together a code to access the lab, and there's a boss at the end of it,
One
and
of my
oh,
favorite things about Scum was raiding a base and working my way around one of the giant mechanized things.
right,
The
super
act of
dope.
stealth and avoidance, really working hard to get into something.
It's sad that I'm about to say this, but I honestly would rather have people play Fallout 76.
Yeah, that's gotten much better if you haven't played Fallout 76 in the recent days. Fucking phenomenal. I love Microsoft. I am a Microsoft stan. You guys are awesome.
All right, everybody. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button. Like the video, of course, and share it with your friends. We need to get the information out there. We need to get the truth to the people.
Spread the word. The bird is the word.
No, it's all subjection. I'm sure a lot of people truly do deeply enjoy 7 Days to Die, and that's good. We hope you continue to enjoy it.
I won't though.
You won't.
Thanks.
I will. I don't care what people like. I never really
I
cared
think
what other
it's
people like.
time to be hitting the old dusty trail.
Play Fallout New Vegas on the highest difficulty in hardcore mode
Country
enabled.
roads take me home.
But you can't deny that Fallout New Vegas highest difficulty hardcore mode is the best survival game you can play.
You can't deny that Fallout New Vegas is the real Fallout 3, and Fallout 3 should have just not.
I liked Fallout 3. We've gone over this already.
Bye, everybody.
Bye everyone.